Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cure for the Common Game. This is day 56, and today we're going to take a look at Urza Saga, the EDH set review for Urza Saga. There is a lot of cards here to unpack, and this was an amazing set. It was over 350 cards, and let's look at it. Now we are into numbered cards. Started with Exodus, so everything now is in Wooburg order. We're going to start with Angelic Chorus here. Now, Angelic Chorus is a personal favorite of mine because I love Sarah Avatar, that we'll get to later. And Sarah Avatar and Angelic Chorus is just bananas together. But I really like it in enchantment based decks where I use it with especially anything that creates the 4/4 Angel token. Most of those are enchantments. You can actually run pretty decent mono white enchantments, but it has a lot of other uses too. The Phyrexian Processor, it's really good with that because you instantly gain your life that you paid for it back, and you just net life and giant creatures after that. So, but anyway, there's a lot of uses for Angelic Chorus. It's a personal favorite of mine. Catastrophe. I don't know who decided it was a good idea to be like, Armageddon, Wrath of God, put them on the same card. It is a what was the word that we used for Avacyn? This is a beautiful disaster. I am telling you, just the utility of whatever bothers you. Although most of the time it's a 6-mana Wrath. There's not a lot of cases that is actually beneficial to us to destroy all lands, and I'm kind of one. I don't have a problem destroying all lands if it means I'm going to win, but just to destroy all lands to be doing it, that's kind of not my style. Glorious Anthem. This is the first set that gives us this, and as a matter of fact, this is the first. It's what actually gives the term the Anthem effect. We had Crusade, but Crusade was 1 mana cheaper and it was all white creatures. So Glorious Anthem was them saying, hey, just all your creatures, doesn't matter what color they are. If they're yours, they get +1/+1. Fun fact, years later, through one of the M sets, one of the core sets, I can't remember which year it was, they were wanting to bring back a whole bunch of cards, and they were wanting to bring back Crusade. So they had us vote on the website between Crusade and Glorious Anthem. And they were sure Crusade was going to win, and Glorious Anthem won. And they were like, well, okay. Humble. Now, this is awesome white creature removal. It's instant speed. Target creature loses indestructible, is how I read it. And it's a 0/1 until end of turn. It loses all abilities. Regeneration. Now, of course, we still got that hexproof and shroud thing to worry about because we can't even target it with that. But beyond that, this is amazing. Gets rid of the indestructible, like I said, and more than likely, you're going to play this mid-combat where you know the combat I'm talking about, where they swing confident they've got the best creature on the board, and it doesn't matter how you block, you're losing. So, yeah. How about it's a 0/1? I'll block it and kill it. Love Humble. Pariah, another great card. Of course, we use this. It's the oldest combo in the world with Cho Mano. We all know that. To where you just stop taking damage. But you can also put this on your opponent's creature. I love finding somebody's Darksteel Colossus or something that's indestructible and being like, hey, that guy can take all my damage from now on. It's cool. Planar Birth. Now, Planar Birth, I've got a little bit of history with Planar Birth. Zuran Orb is a real card. Y'all have heard me talk about the Zuran Orb balance that we used to do, or you, in response to somebody's Armageddon, you just sift all of your lands to the Zuran Orb or what have you. Or just, if you draw this afterwards. Now, it does hit all basic lands at all graveyards. However, if you find yourself if you're playing a 1 to 2 color deck, and most of the table is playing 3 to 4 or 5 colors, which is not an uncommon thing to happen, you're going to get a little more out of the transaction than they are. So I like Planar Birth. It's really good in Land Graveyard Matters deck. Too bad there's no white in Lord Windgrace. Is there? No, he's Jund. Okay. Sarah Avatar, my baby. Power toughness equal to your life total. This was the first card that couldn't exist in the graveyard. I'm not sure that last sentence. I think the word instead may be in there. I haven't looked at the Oracle text in years. Maybe I never have. I don't know. But it's a beautiful card. We used it with Oath of Druids. You played your Oath of Druids on turn 2, turn 1 possibly. Forbidden Orchard actually years later after this made the thing possible to where you just give your opponent a creature and then you automatically you can Oath have Avatar on turn 3, and it was sick and ridiculous. However, I've used it many times with the Angelic Chorus and the Proteus Staff as the only creature in the deck, and I'll Proteus Staff a token that I made off of Kil'jaeden Outpost, and to just keep doubling my life every turn and kind of give it Pseudo Vigilance. Yeah. Anyway, lots of crazy shenanigans you can do with it. Just putting a Spirit Link on it is crazy. Or Armadillo Cloak, because it gives it trample. Yeah, that's pretty sweet. Worship. Now, I'm not exactly certain why we don't see more worships in decks. I guess because there's, in our format, I've always loved worship, but in our format we have other ways to lose. We have commander damage, and commander damage needs to exist. It is a thing that I'm for, because how many times have you looked up and just, oh, you're at 200 life? What? Just incidentally, them not trying. Or even if somebody does some rider replication Kokosho shenanigans or whatever, there's commander damage needs to exist, and I guess that's why this doesn't. Yeah, I think I answered my own question there. That's probably why this doesn't see more play than it does. I like it, though. Back then, we didn't have indestructible creatures. Now we do, and now that makes worship just a little bit better. But you still die to infect. You still die to getting milled. You still die to commander damage. So, yeah. Arcane Laboratory. That's from a cartoon that I've never seen, apparently. Can't play more than one spell each turn. This is a good solid reason why the Iriyayo, or whatever that flip guy is that said counter is the first spell an opponent plays each turn. Yeah, these two cards are pretty well just busted. The closest we have now is that, what is that, Nullstone Gargoyle, that 9 mana artifact creature that kind of does something similar, but it's 9 mana. Arcane Lab's really good to just slow the game down if that's what you're trying to do. I mean, there's nothing like it. Attunement. You want to talk about getting cards in graveyards? This was part of the Opalescence Replenish deck from way back. We had, most of the Opalescence Replenish deck was in Urza block, so we're going to cover. That was a very, very popular deck, and this was the linchpin of it. This allowed you to get enchantments into the graveyard. I mean, because you draw 3, you discard 4. On the surface, that looks like a bad transaction, but when you're trying to fill up a graveyard, it's amazing. Yeah. Back to basics. Of course, this just got a reprint, but it's really good, especially in our format. Are we the ones propping this up? Or I don't think this is modern legal. I think this is Legacy, Vintage, and Commander. I think that's it. But it is super strong in our format. How many non-basic lands do we? Even in single color decks, we play non-basic. So yeah, it's really good. Of course, it's got a really good price tag to go with it. As usual, I do all the legends from these sets. Now, Baron Master Wizard was Urza's right hand man at Talera, the Tolarian College, rather academy. I was thinking about the prof, but um, Baron's wife was Rain, and he had a daughter named Hannah. That's right. And Hannah was the love interest of Gerard. So, of course, all of that looked like free will, but Urza kind of engineered it all. Yeah. But anyway, he's a wizard. He counts as a wizard. I'm not exactly sure how wizards count, but no. I know how vampires count. One. Oh. But sack a permanent, bounce a creature. I don't think I have. Do I have Baron built? I think he may be chilling in the binder. But pretty old distinguished guy here. I don't think I have him built because, to be honest with you, the ones I have built, I can remember how I built them, and I don't remember or even have a clue how I would build this. Blue sack outlets, I mean, it's not a common thing, but anyway, we'll do something. Fog Bank. It's an uncommon, but it's a wall that can't take damage. This is super popular. I see it a lot. It's like if you can run blue, you're running a Fog Bank because I mean it's a super blocker. It flies. It's got lost dinosaurs in it. I was really surprised that they didn't actually just reprint this same art in Ixalan. But I like it. Of course, it's become really popular since the wall deck has Great Whale. Now there is a cycle of these, and I think I hit them all throughout the block. Great Whale is just the first. Great Whale is the 7-drop. There was a 6-drop, a 5-drop, a 2-drop. The 3-drop was a spell. But anyway, these were the quote-unquote free spells. You had to have the mana up front to play them, but then when they came into play, you untapped lands pretty much equal to their casting cost. The only problem was we all found ways to cheat them into play or to make them cost less, so we were getting like a mana rebate out of the deal. And Morrow, looking back on it, this was the most expensive one. And looking back on it, he said, well, most mechanics, you can tweak the mana, you can raise the mana cost and level out the mechanic. But this is one mechanic that the higher you make the mana cost, the more busted the card gets. Which is true. Palinchron was the biggie. I think that's in the next set. We'll do probably tomorrow. Who knows? But yeah. Free 5/5's pretty good. Hermetic Study. Now, we all know about Hermetic Study, and we put it on Horseshoe Crab. I'm betting Horseshoe Crab's next. Here, let's see. Yep, Horseshoe Crab's next. So, Hermetic Study, you just put on a creature to turn it into a plinker. Now, what I am doing is in my Nicol Bolas deck, the actual Nicol Bolas Elder Dragon, is I have Hermetic Study in there because Nicol Bolas doesn't use the word combat damage. He just says when he deals damage, they discard their hand. So I slap a Hermetic Study on and use my giant 7/7 flying dragon to plink you. If you have, if you've got blockers, which normally by the time you're casting an 8-mana Nicol Bolas, they got blockers. You just plink them and they have to discard their hand, and fun times ensue. Yeah. But it has, of course, if you can put this on a creature with Death Touch, That's really good too. Wither. Now, we put it on Horseshoe Crab. Keep in mind, look at this. Hermetic Studies common. Horseshoe Crab's common. This was a very, oh God, almost a very common thing. Oh God, sorry. But it happened a lot in like sealed decks and sealed events and stuff like that. You just put a Hermetic Study on a Horseshoe Crab and just tap it, deal a point, spend a blue, untap it, and just keep going. It happened a lot. I did it a lot. It was done to me a lot. Anyway, Horseshoe Crab's really good for all of the enchantments that you can put on a creature that where you can tap it to produce some effect. Because Horseshoe Crab is about the cheapest untap there is at 1 mana. Morphling. Now, this is a good card, but let me tell you the backstory of the card. They were going to put Clone in this set. They had commissioned RK to do a Clone art. This was going to be Clone. A rare blue creature slot, Clone. The only problem was, under the current rules at the time, they couldn't get Clone to work. It didn't work under those rules. So they opted out of using Clone, but they had a rare creature slot and they had already paid for this art. So they literally just came up with a card. Probably one of those classic, we didn't playtest this anyway, card, and they just started putting abilities on there. And for a happy little accident that it actually started something. It started a mega cycle. We got Brightling, and we got, there's a red one, a green one, a white one, and this blue one. I guess we'll get a Deathling at some point in time. Or Darkling. Ooh, Darkling sounds good. Anyway, it's a really good card. It was super hard to kill. I mean, it just did all the things. Peregrine Drake. There's the 5-drop. Comes into play, untap 5 lands, and it's a 2/3 flyer, which none of us really use this for its, prowess in combat. We use this as a combo engine. I use it to this day because I don't have enough Palincrons, and, in a pinch, this kind of does the same deal. Not as good as a Palincron, but Show and Tell. Emrakul's best friend. This actually didn't, in my area that I was playing in, Show and Tell wasn't real popular when it came out because, your opponent gets to drop stuff too. But the idea that, what you're dropping is going to be way better than what they're dropping. Just, that was kind of a next level thing, I guess. But it's a good card. I love it in EDH. There are things you can do to, always make it where it ends up in your favor. Love it. Stroke of Genius. This was the first draw X since Brain Geyser, and it's at instant speed. I loved it. I know it saw a ton of play. I think every copy, to this day, every copy I have is in a deck. It's been reprinted a couple times, but we do still have, this is Urza Saga, so we do still have some reserve list cards in the set. Now, this is not one of them, but there are a few of these cards that are. I don't have them all quite memorized, but Stroke of Genius. Good card draw. Because, you held up your mana to counter stuff, and if they didn't play anything you felt like countering, you draw some cards. Sunder. How to lose friends in 5 mana. Whew. Generally, if somebody casts Sunder, there's a wheel effect somewhere after it. I mean, there really is. I think returning lands to their owners' hands may be worse than destroying them. I don't know. Telepathy. I like perfect information. Yeah, and it's just your opponent's. It really makes things, takes the guessing game out of it quite a bit. And this was the very first printing, obviously. Time Spiral. Here's the 6-drop spell version. Now, yeah, Yeah. Do you believe that? It's a time twister for free. It exiles itself, true. But as long as you got the 6 mana to cast it, you're going to untap 6 lands with a full hand of 7 cards. All the days when we didn't know what power level was. Now, things are a lot different now. Back in the early days of Magic, the spells were ridiculously overpowered, but the creatures were not. If Juzam Djinn was printed in Innistrad, it would be a 50-cent card. The exact same printing, exact same abilities and power and toughness, but it's expensive because of the set that it was in. Now, over time, they have tried to course correct that to where to make the creatures better. That's why, now for 5 mana we get Baneslayer instead of Sarah. And rein in the spells a little bit. But this was still ridiculous back. This was back when they were just, I don't know. It's super good. To learn when. Speaking of wheels, this is just you. You discard your hand, draw that many cards. Change it out like oil in a Chevy. Just get a new hand, which is probably what you want to do if you're running, any kind of Nekusar deck or Psychosis Crawler, although they're part and parcel most of the time. Turnabout. Now, I love Turnabout. Many, many times, how you've had game on board and they clutch that perfect blocker or they something. You know what? Just tap your team. Yeah, you get the artifacts and lands too. Or depending on what you need. I have used this at the end of the previous turn to tap out the other blue player's lands so that they couldn't respond when I do my shenanigans on my turn. I've done that. I've tapped down blockers. I don't know that I've ever tapped all the artifacts. Now, I've untapped all my stuff many times. I can't tell you how many times I've untapped my lands when you've got, you played your high tide and all your islands are producing 2 or more and turnabout, untap all my junk, keep going. I've done that too. So it's a very versatile card. Windfall. This is a beautifully simple card here. And what makes it so great is each player draws the greatest number. So typically, most games have that guy or have that player who has just a ton of cards in hand. And if you're down to 1, 2, and they've got, 30, hey, guess what? We're going to level the playing field. Wizard Mentor. Now, once we get to red, we'll talk about sneak attack. But the reason why I wanted Wizard Mentor was, it looks not much. You return Wizard, you tap it to return himself and another creature you control to owner's hands. Well, sneak attack, the enchantment for red, for a single red, you put a creature into play, it gains haste, it dies at the end of turn. So what you did was you spent red and put out Wizard Mentor, and spent red and put out Sarah Avatar, and you swung with the Sarah Avatar, bashed face with it, tapped the Wizard Mentor to put both of them back in your hand so you could do it again next turn. Yeah, it was a real thing. I did not know it existed until it was happening to me. Wizard Mentor is not bad, especially for any the creatures with a meaningful comes into play or leaves play ability. Contamination. During your upkeep, sacrifice the throw you got off a breeding pit or or a vampire that Edgar Markov made, because all your vampires buy one, get one free, or whatever. Whenever a land is tapped for mana, it produces black. It doesn't change the actual land type like a Blood Moon type effect does. But it just says, hey, lands produce black now. Now, here's the beautiful part. Instead of its normal type and amount, nice Gaia's Cradle, bro, it produces a single black now. Or just make sure that you're not hosing yourself with trying to run the Cabal Coffers thing. But it is beautiful. If you can afford to sack that creature, which in a black deck you kind of almost want to do. Yeah. Love Contamination. Darkest Hour. All creatures are black. There was a... oh, shoot. I didn't cover that. All creatures gain protection from black. It just makes, combat... all creatures unblockable pretty much. But all creatures being black are... there's a lot of just good stuff here. I think this was reprinted in 7th edition, if I'm not mistaken. A lot of Urza Saga cards got picked for 7th edition. Exhume. Oh, so good. Now, on the surface, it does look like, what? Everybody gets to do this? Okay, check this out. Swamp, Dark Ritual, Entomb, Exhume. This is turn 1, so nobody else has any creatures. So you just got whatever your big, baddest creature is into play on turn 1. Now, obviously, if you're drawing this on turn 73, it's not quite as, one-sided. But it's still good. Because odds are the creatures you're getting back are probably better than what everybody else is getting back. Because, you built the deck that way. Love Exhume. Oppression. Ooh, we play a spell, discard a card. And, you can always tell the person with the capsize in their hand at the table when you play Oppression, they go, oh. Because buyback spells really hurt with this card. Persecute. This, it happens more times than you would think. One color decks, now granted they're not extremely popular. I play them because, I'm building every single legendary creature there is. But I'm the exception and not the rule. I get that. But 2 color decks are very, very common, especially since we are still on Ravnica. Even 3 color decks. Everybody plays, multicolor cards in those, and especially the Ravnica themed guild decks, which you'd be surprised how many cards this can get. It may not get the entire hand, but it'll be enough to hurt badly. Planar Void. I don't understand why this card's not a gajillion dollars. Maybe because it's uncommon. But this is amazing. A card is put into a graveyard, exiled. Isn't that the exact same text from Leyline of the Void? And this is 1 mana. Granted, you've got the Void being the option of being free, but if you don't get it, it costs 4. So, if you've got this in your opening draw, it costs you essentially 1 more mana than the... Anyway, it's an amazing card. I love it. Quote from Xantia. I've never understood why this does not see more play. Reign of Filth. Sacking lands. I did this a bunch too with that whole Bring All Lands Back card that we saw in white. Yeah. Because I did this in kind of Frost Bloomish type decks where you've already tapped all your swamps and now you get another use out of them. And you're not going to have any lands left, but it's not going to matter because you're going to win this turn. So, Reprocess. Now, this would be busted if it was an instant. I would love it if it was an instant. Of course, I guess we all would. But the ability just to swap out permanents for cards. Now, tokens. Yeah, I'll swap out clue tokens to draw cards or Thopter tokens or whatever. Probably clue tokens from that Smothering Tide that had just been chilling there for a little while. See, I'm even thinking Orzhov now. We've been in Ravnica way too long. Scourge Familiar. Choose and discard a card. I think if it stopped there, we would play it simply because free discards just don't happen a lot. But to get a black mana out of it, it's worth it. I love it. Tainted Ether. That's right. I think this one was also reprinted again in 7th edition, which takes it off the list if I'm not mistaken. So, creature comes into play. Its controller sacrifices a creature land. You want to talk about upsetting the token player. Woo! That'll do it. Victimize. Now, how cool is this? 3 mana, sack a creature, get 2 creatures back. That is nuts. Of course, we all know this is a good one. I think this has actually been reprinted in a Commander product or something. But I'll 1 for 2 myself every time because more than likely I have chalked the graveyard full and the creature I am sacking is expendable or a token or something. Oh my god, Yawgmoth's will. Same difference. It's a beautiful card. This is on the reserve list. It's never been reprinted. Super expensive. But I have never personally seen this cast, whether by me or by anybody else. If somebody is casting the Yawgmoth's Will, the game is over. Maybe not that turn, but it's over. It may take a couple turns. Most of the time, it's that turn. It is just, oh, it's so good. To be able to just reuse your entire graveyard. Just, okay. Oh, so good. Bedlam. How about creature combat, y'all? Let's just not block. I love Bedlam. It's perfect for your, especially, Bedlam should have gone in my Aurelia deck that I showed, I showed Josh Lee Kwai to try to, that would have been perfect with, all of the 52 combat steps. Bedlam would have been perfect. Gamble. There was a 1 mana tutor cycle, and this is the red entry to it. And Gamble is really good. Of course, the more cards you have in hand, the better it is. Or, what a lot of people use Gamble for is to intentionally put a card into the graveyard. So, if you don't have very many, or if none at all, you gamble for the 1 creature that you want in your graveyard. That's the only card in your hand, so you ditch it. Either way, very abusable. I love it. Goblin Lackey. Now, for the first little bit, we didn't think Goblin Lackey was all that. But trust me, we found out quick. Especially when Siege Gang Commander came into the picture. We're like, okay, so I play this guy on turn 1. And turn 2, I swing with him. And then I just get to drop a free goblin. What's the biggest goblin I can drop? Stuff like that. And, man, the Lackey's good. Goblin Mom, Goblin Matron comes into play. It's Goblin Tutor. It's sounds like something from Lorwyn, doesn't it? But there's always room for 1 more. I cannot tell you how many times my own mother has said that. But yeah, Goblin Tutor, go get exactly what you need. By the way, Tarfire's a Goblin card. Shivan Hellkite. Let's give this guy Death Touch. Or Infect, that works too. 7 mana, 5/5 flyers. A little, it's a little much. but the ability to just ping players. I believe this says targets now, if I'm not mistaken, because I think you can hit a walker with it. But there's our sneak attack. Just absolutely bananas. So many things. Sneak and show, the show and tell, and sneak attack. That's a deck still to this day. A lot of people play. It's just, hey, I'm gonna put big creatures in, and Emrakul's not banned in that format, so he's banned at ours. I'm sorry, she's banned at ours. But yeah, sneak attack's still good. Wildfire. This is like insult and injury together. Not only are they sacking 4 lands, which if you're doing it, you're probably, it's probably not hurting you as much. The typical wildfire frame of a deck is crazy amounts of mana rocks anyway, a lot of which produce specific red mana, and then you wildfire to kill all the little creatures and put everybody else back 4 turns in land count. Meanwhile, you've probably got some huge 5+ toughness fatty that you are just ruling the board with. And it's hard to catch back up from that. It's kind of like the big creature dash Geddon cards, decks from back in the day. Abundance. Now, this is utility, but I kind of understand where Dana is coming from, where you just don't want to pay 4 mana for it. You get to guarantee yourself a land or a non-land card every draw. So you're not going to draw dead lands when you don't need to. Which in itself sounds very appealing. I don't know that I have ever actually cast this spell. Probably not, no. But I can see its uses. I mean, somebody out there has probably just broken this, and I have not found it myself yet. But Argothian Enchantress. This was the first Enchantress since the original one. The original one was, of course, Verduran. But this one took a notch up. I mean, for the price of, we lost a toughness. Because Verduran was 0-2. This is 0-1 for 1 less mana. And it has Shroud. Oh, so good. I know there was a Judge foil printing, if I'm not mistaken. This was the last set that did not have foils. Starting with the next set, they started doing foils in packs. Now, there was some kind of promos. A few select cards from this set were foiled, Gaia's Cradle being one of them. That's why that's a gajillion dollars. I think Sarah Avatar was out there, Argothian Enchantress. It was like they took the Powerhouse cards and they were like, we're going to show off this new process that we're doing and give these promo cards away. And the Enchantress, she is outstanding. Has this been it seems like this has been in a Commander release? I don't know. Maybe that was wishful thinking on my part. Should be, though. Blanchwood Armor. Of course, this is the very first time we saw Blanchwood Armor. Now, for me, and y'all know I hate to use the word staple, but if I'm running mono green, I'm probably running a Blanchwood Armor. I don't think I have built mono green creatureless yet, but, I haven't really thought about it till that moment. That may be a thing. Mono green, no creatures. Find a different way to win, Brian. I guess with that deck, could I even... No. I was thinking if no creatures in the deck, I could play token generators. And no, because I think that's breaking the spirit of the deck. I think the spirit of the deck is find a way to win without combat. Find a way to win without creatures. I'm sorry, the mind's turning now. But Blanchwood Armor. A lot of times I just draw Blanchwood Armor. I'm like, hey, I have my commander. Hey, I've got these, 12 forest. Because it's forest. Now, Armored Ascension's good, and Granite Grip's good, and all this, but Blanchwood Armor, I believe, is better simply because it's in the color that lets us ramp lands into play. So odds are, if we're running a Blanchwood Armor, we're running a Rampant Growth and a Harrow and the host of other spells that do it. So it's a beating on stick. Carpet of Flowers. Speaking of beating on a stick, this nets you mana because blue is still the most popular color. As much as I hate it and everybody hates it, it doesn't matter. It's the counterspell color, it's the card draw color, it's the bounce color. It's too good. I say it's not too good. It's just, personal bias. I get that. They're all balanced, but it is very popular. In just about every 4+ player game, somebody's playing blue. Probably most people are playing blue, and this is going to net you a ton of mana. Of one color. So it's not colorless mana. We're getting colored mana off of this deal. Odds are green for us. Endless Worm. Now, they gave us Endless Worm in Saga, and they gave us the answer to the riddle in the next set, called Rancor. But 9/9 trample for 5. They used to spoil cards like, hey, we got a 9/9 mana or a 9/9 trampler for 5 mana. And we were like, what? It's like, hey, we got a 1 mana 13/13. We didn't know it was Death Shadow or stuff like the spoilers used to be very clickbaity before clickbait was a thing, But yeah, this and Rancor is pretty busted. Also really good in the Enchantress deck, because, it is a 9/9 trample. We have plenty of stuff to feed it. And if you're running the Femorif Enchantress, you're drawing a card when an enchantment leaves anyway, so it's kind of not bad. Exploration. Exploration was them trying to make a fixed fast bond. And, yeah, it kind of did that, but it's still busted. Our entire game is made off the premise of the mana system and the rate at which you can play land one per turn. And when you get to do that twice as fast as the rest of the table, yeah, things can get off kilter real quick. It's a great card. Fecundity. Now, the part I love this, but the part I dislike is that it is global. Now, granted, in a Golgari environment where we are probably sacrificing more than anybody else, sacrifice creatures, stuff like that, we're going to be drawing more cards. And that's not bad in a green-black, because typically black you're paying life, and green is not really known for its a creature card draw, but outside of that, Fecundity's good. Greater Good. Sack a dude. I'm telling you, speaking of green card draw that's tied to creatures, I think this was the first one that really was dominant at, because you just, as long as it was a power 4 or better creature, you come out on the winning side of that. Priest of Titania. Oh my god. In my opinion, the most broken elf ever to be made. I love this card. It's in my every elf deck I've got has a priest in it, just because she's amazing. Does crazy things with Umbral Mantle. Yeah, look that up. Umbral Mantle. Infinite green mana, anyone? Just easily. Vernal Bloom. Here's another card that I anticipated we would be seeing more when Commander took off, but it hasn't been. And maybe because single color is not as popular as, multicolor is, but I would think that, now I don't have a lot of these. This one, I do believe, also got reprinted. But, hey, all four, not just yours, so are tapped for green now. That's pretty sweet. Whirlwind. This is a card that I don't think they can print enough. This is so much in flavor of green, and I just, Yeah, I know it's hit at one commander release, but this is about Green's best answer to the Angels and Dragons and Demons of the world. I just like called out the Kalia deck, didn't I? Oh, look, we're in artifacts. Sentinel Flute. So, what if you had a repeatable creature tutor? Would you do it? Heck yeah, I'd do it. I'd spend the 5 mana. Well, I'll let this guy. I don't know. The image that comes into my mind is you've got the old guy with the flute, and it's like he's the snake charmer guy, and he's playing the flute, and all of a sudden here comes Bolas. Anyway, Claws of Gix is what we use to get rid of our bargains. It's what we use to get rid of all the necropotence. After it started hurting you for a while, your life was getting down pretty low. You just kind of ditched the stuff you didn't want. Or if you were like me, you stole your opponent's stuff and then ditched it for, no significant gain, 1 life, whatever. And more importantly, it's a 0-drop artifact, which has its own sets of merits on just that quality alone. Crystal Chimes, another card that's gotten really good with the C18 release. You just bring all your enchantments in your yard back to your hand. So I like it, and it has also seen a commander release, but you don't really see a lot of people using it. Fluctuator. Cycling costs 2 less to play. This was a cycling set. I don't think we've covered a whole lot of cycling cards. There was a few of them that made a mark. Some of them did, some of them didn't. But this allowed you... In cycling and Urza Saga was always 2 colorless at the time, I believe. Or was this when they started changing it up? I don't know. We'll find out when we get to the lands. But it allowed... Cycling 2 is probably the most common cycling cost. And I have a deck built around this where you just cycle through your entire deck. And I think they're mostly enchantments, and you replenish them all into play. Yeah, it's crazy. But Fluctuator is a card. Grafted Skullcap. Now, looks really, really bad, but it plays way better than it looks, I promise you. If you haven't had a chance to play this, it is a personal Howling Mine, but you ditch your hand at the end of each turn. And there's so many decks you want that. If you've got a bridge out, if you are playing dredge cards or reanimation, what have you, this is going to speed up your card draw twice as fast. Typically, it is played with black. I've actually played this in red as well, in mono red, because typically in mono red you don't have a hand to ditch anyway. So that's why I like this gold. Karn, this is the original way back before we got Eldrazi. Karn was it for colorless. And, oh man, I had Karn built back then, and that was a nightmare of a mana base before waste, because colored mana symbols are banned in his deck. Yeah, it's all got to be colorless, and you can't use basics, and you can't use... So yeah, that was a nightmare of a deck to build, just for the land base. Now I have him built as tribal golems, because he is in fact a golem. Yeah, tribal golems. It's my boy. Lifeline. Now, Lifeline works for everybody, for every creature, but whenever a creature is put into a graveyard and another creature is in play, return that creature from your graveyard to play it into turn, so it comes back. Now, granted, doesn't work that well with, kill all creature things, but if there's one thing on the board that's indestructible, Lifeline will bring them all back. Now, what I used Lifeline for was all those sacrifice outlets things. Sacrifice to produce effect, and you got the leaves play effect, and then you got the comes into play effect again. Yeah, Lifeline really strong. Mishra's Helix. Hey, this is another way to lose friends for 5 mana. Remember that Priest of Titania I was telling you about? Yeah, this is how you do it. She produces all this mana, and you just tap down somebody's lands. And if you are really feeling like you want the world mad at you, you throw in a Seedborn Muse so you can do it to everybody. During your upkeep, tap all your lands. That I think that is probably worse than destroying all somebody's lands. They've got them; they can see them. They just can't use them. They've got a very small window of instant speed opportunity. But man, Mistress Helix is. If you've never played with it, it's a feel bad card. Even when you're the one using it, it is. I mean, when you've got somebody locked down under a Helix, it feels dirty wrong. Don't get me wrong, we still do it, but it feels bad. Notic Scales. During each player's upkeep, return to owner's hand each creature that player controls with power greater than the number of cards in his or her hand. So we use this with discard. I mean, it's just to, if they have bigger creatures out, or if they've reanimated whatever, and they don't, just put that thing back where it came from, or so help me. Phyrexian Processor. Now, the year that this defined standard, the World Championship finals came down to 2 guys playing processor decks. There was 2 competing philosophies on Phyrexian Processor. The philosophies were pay 19 life and pay 10 life. And I cannot remember which philosophy won out. It depends on, I would say, your board state. In our format for EDH, this is a beautiful card. Like I said, the Angelic Chorus. You can pay your life if you've got the 8 mana in one turn, which is not hard for us, to cast it and use it. You can pay more life than you're really comfortable with, as long as you know that you're not going to get, instant shotted for whatever. I mean, you don't want to go down too low, but if you're at 40 and you want to pay 30 and you've got the 8 mana, you can cast it, use it, and as soon as the creature comes out, you've gained your 30 back from the Angelic Chorus, and then every turn is profit. Here again, Seedborn Muse. Besties. Smokestack. The card that gave the deck its name. I mean, Stacks is Stacks because of this card, and it is cruelly efficient and amazing. Now we have Proliferate that we can do just crazy things with to get. Not only are we proliferating the sit counters here, we're proliferating counters on other things that make tokens, and we're just it's a dominating card, that's for sure. I mean, it sees play in every format that it is legal. Ours is no different. How many EDH Stacks decks have you heard of? Exactly, they all want this card. Temporal Aperture. Now, this is just a fun card. I'm not going to lie, it's fun, and when we were playing in a singleton format, 2 to cast and 5 to use, and you know what? Let's play the lottery. Let's see what we get. I like it. Sometimes it's useful, sometimes it's not. I mean, I like to use a Temporal Aperture as much as I possibly can, to get your value out of it, but it's always, you're always looking to get that card that's costs more than 5. So, even if not, it's a free card on the stack, because you didn't draw it. Although, granted, you could be playing cards in place of this that would draw you a card. But this is way more fun because it's random. Urza's Armor. I love this with Pyrohemia / Pestilence and the Pestilence Demon, things that do that type of ability, because those are all 1-point bursts. So that's why I love the Urza's Armor. It has a lot of other utility in it as well, but it's really good. Voltaic Key, man, it's a good thing this card's not busted. even with something as simple as a Soul Ring, it's not bad. A Thran Dynamo, a Mana Vault gets dumb. Um, we won't talk about Time Vault because that's not legal in our format, and it's oh no wait, I think Time Vault may be. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've had Time Vault, but Time Vault Voltaic Key is a real thing that is, solitaire magic. Wall of Junk is a beautiful card. Now, the new Wall Commander, you draw a card when you play a wall, right? What? And then this guy, it's 2 mana with a 7 toughness, and it jumps back in your hand at the end of combat after it blocks, and you get to cast it again and get all the. Oh, it's so beautiful. This card really. That M19 really, really set this card off. If you're not playing this in your wall deck, you need to be. Worn Power Stone. Now, this is just. I don't know. Every copy of Worn Power Stone I own is Index. It is. I play this card. A lot of people play this card. And what's weird is this card is widely regarded as a good card. I think it's decent. I mean, it's not great, but it's decent. Now, it's a Soul Ring that costs 3 times as much and enters play tapped. Does that let you know how warped Soul Ring is? But I can't remember who said it. Was it Saffron Olive or was it Richard from MTG Goldfish? It's one of those. I don't think Soul Ring will ever go because Soul Ring is kind of the hallmark of the format. And as popular as it is, it's not a one-sided thing. It's cheap enough to where everybody has access to it. It's kind of like the Brainstorm and what is that? Is it Vintage or Legacy? I don't know. I don't play those formats, but the Brainstorm is kind of the flag bearer of that format. And yeah, it's busted. Soul Ring's busted, but it's kind of what defines our format. It's kind of our poster child of our format. I mean, have you seen the Command Zone opening credits? It shows both Soul Rings. So, oh yes, we are into lands now. Hey, we're almost done. Oh my gosh, this is almost an hour long. I'm telling you, there's a lot of cards to cover here. This is the first of the cycles. Oh my god, I almost said cycle. Cycling lands from Saga. They were one for each color. They all entered tapped, and they produced a mana of that color, and they cycle for 2. So I use them a lot in monocolor decks where I use the desert, this one, and the other. There's 3 different monocolor cycle lands. I use them a lot in monocolor decks just in case you draw the land and you can pitch it away for something else. Gaea's Cradle. Man, this is a beautiful card. In every sense of the word, the art is gorgeous. The ability is nuts. It's legendary, so you can search it up with all the cool stuff. I mean, Gaea's Cradle is the biggest strip mine wasteland target there is. Super expensive now. I never would have dreamed it was be expensive as what it is. Never would have dreamed it. Phyrexian Tower, the black card from the. See, there was a legendary land cycle, and blue and white and green got cool ones, and red and black were just like meh. Phyrexian Tower is good. Don't get me wrong. Sack a dude, get double black. These are all things that black wants to do, but things like Sarah's Sanctum, especially now since C18, I would imagine. I have never bought one of these. I've never traded for one. I've got the couple that I've had since I pulled them from packs, so I don't know how much this is. I think it's pretty expensive now, though. But they got the lands that produce multiple mana. We saw the Cradle and the Sanctum here. And then red got Shivan Gorge. Spend 3 mana, deal 1 damage. What? It's like a reverse lightning bolt. It's 3 for 1 instead of 1 for 3. And you tap it for a colorless even. Ah. Thran Quarry, I love in the creature heavy decks. I think I'm running it in Nikya. I think I run one in Rook Thar. You know, the hardcore creature heavy decks that are obviously multicolored. But it's a good card. This used to be a promo back when the Junior Super Series was a thing, I do believe. Tolarian Academy. Oh, so beautiful and so banned. I love this card. I actually had been playing EDH so long that I don't know if this was banned from the get-go, but I never knew it was banned until it was mid-game. My buddy Goose was like, "What are you doing? You know that's banned." I'm like, "Really? I get it. I didn't know it. I get that it's banned. I can't totally understand it. But, man, it is, it's so good. Too good, too good." And that's what we've got for Urza Saga. I do appreciate, if y'all are still listening, we are just past an hour. I do apologize for getting long-winded, but Urza Saga is a big set, a lot of stuff to cover. Thank y'all very much, and we will see you tomorrow.